Hello everyone, hope you're doing great. So this is going to be a very quick tutorial on using Google Ads BigQuery connectivity using Google Sheets. What I have here is an imported set of tables. There's a lot of tables that get imported from Google Ads. So as you can see here that I've already done that importing, and that importing has been done using the data transfers feature of BigQuery. And so you can see here that these P ads are, for instance, performance max tables from within Google Ads. So what I'm going to show is basically an example using the Google Ads tables, just to also show you how that data can be worked with work with using BigQuery. But this you can do actually with any data set within BigQuery. What I'm about to show. So what I'm really talking about here is okay. So these are the tables, and if you're familiar with this interface, you already know that you have the schema here, you have the details of a particular table. So all you have to do is click on a particular table here from this list of tables. As you can see here, I've clicked here on the campaign stats table, which basically gives me the details of all the fields or the columns that you would expect within the table. So each of these are essentially tables according to the architecture of BigQuery. So you obviously have different kinds of columns here. You'll see that there's a campaign ID, there's customer ID, then there are different metrics like CPM, CTR, impressions, cost in micros. Then you have viewability, average cost, CPC, CPM, and other conversion related matrix. So what I'll show here is that that obviously something that you can do is do a query. For instance, you can query this entire table, but instead of doing that, which of course means that you are going to be using SQL or SQL, and if you are not very familiar with that, what you can do is you can go to this export option, and you can use this couple of options here, which is exploring with Sheets and exploring with Lucas Studio. So I'm pretty sure that everyone watching this video is familiar with these two and have worked extensively with both of these Google Sheets, and hopefully all of you have worked with Lucas Studio, but certainly with Sheets. So Lucas Studio is more for visualization part, and you can actually do that. You can just click on it and instantly see that a table and a dummy graph using this data has been created, and then you can just edit it as you please. But what I'm going to show here is Sheets. So once I click on the Sheets, it's actually going to open up a new Google Sheet document, new spreadsheet. And as you will see in just a moment, once it loads, is that it's a unique kind of sheet. Actually, it's very different. As you can see here, it's connecting with the data, and the data has been connected. It shows it's a very different kind of thing. You can actually watch the video tutorial from here, but yeah, I'm going to walk you through this entire thing here. So as you can see, this has loaded the data from the PADS campaign stats, and it has got all the columns within it, which it calls fields there, the field names. And the interesting thing, as you can see, is it's a different kind of sheet, right? You can see that there are some inbuilt functionalities in the form of buttons. You can actually click on these buttons, and you can work on this data set using this button. So it actually really reduces the amount of time that you have to spend. So if you if I were to just show you from this section here, you can go to file and edit it, and you can go to data and do certain things which you would usually do, but in this case you really don't need to do that. You already have these inbuilt buttons. So let me just give you a very good example of this. So for instance, if I just go to, and I'll just show you how it works as well. So you can see here that this is the metrics conversions column, for instance, and this one is the metrics conversions from interaction rate, I think, which is the conversion rate. Yep. And so interaction is clicks, as you would understand. So metrics conversion value. Then you have metrics cost micro. So this is what I was coming to. So the way it works is when you use Google Ads API, or when you use BigQuery, for instance, you'll always see that the cost data is always in the form of micros, and you just have to divide it by a million, and that's what's going to give you the actual cost. All right. So you can just look it up, but this is a very simple way. Now what I'm going to do here is, for instance, I'm going to just sort this data. So I'm going to say from Z to A, and you have to understand that it's not immediately going to work. So you have to actually click on apply here, Once that does, you see that it's actually a query. All right. So the reason I'm showing you is that everything that you do here is actually in the form of a query. So this is essentially a special kind of Google Sheets, which is actually executing SQL or SQL queries for you from BigQuery. All right. So this is a very special kind of sheet. Since if I just click on pivot table here, it's going to immediately create a pivot table in a new sheet, and you can add everything from here. So for instance, if you just want to add say for instance within rows, suppose you want to add a dimension here, suppose you want to go with campaign ID, and you want to um, add uh, the total cost, and you want to add it in the form of a sum. And then you see here, this is how it shows. It gives you the names of the columns here, and then you just actually have to hit apply in order for it to actually show the data. So it's actually a query that's executing at the back end. That's how it's working essentially. And so you've got all the campaign IDs and all the some of the it's actually the average cost. So that's my bad. You really have to select the right column for this. So if you're really adding values, you have to go to macros cost. So that's the one you have to select, and then you can just choose the sum of it as well, and then you just hit apply. All right. So the apply button is also going to come here, and that's it. That's pretty much it. All right. So that's essentially the way this sheet works. But I'm also going to show a very cool feature of this, and that's basically the column stats one. And you can use this to actually generate queries from these columns. So for instance, you want to use these columns in order to run some other analysis, but you don't know how to write SQL or SQL queries, or you don't want to spend time behind that. You can actually generate SQL queries or SQL queries from here. All right. The immediate result that you get after clicking on column stats, and you can do it in two ways, as you can see here. So you can just click on this small arrow here. You can hit with your column stats. When you go to any column, and you can just also click on the column stats button here. So you get a summary and a frequency and a distribution, as you can see here, which is great, right? It's just at your fingertips. You get a lot of information about that column. So you know that there are 423 values or inputs within that particular column. You have got 171 unique values, and so obviously there are repeat repetitions within that column or not. You get an immediate idea from that. So suppose I want to query that. So for instance, I want to find out how many unique values are there within this column. So how do you find that out within BigQuery? You have to use SQL, right? So just click on this. What it's going to do is you create a new sheet, and it's immediately going to give you that particular query that you can use within BigQuery, right? So it gives you that, okay, just do a count unique, and that's what you really need to do. So that's the query here. That's being generated. All right. So that's how we really do it. And if you just look at the view stats column again, and you'll see that you get the maximum value and the minimum value. So you're getting the range, you're getting the average, you're getting the median, you're getting the sum. So it's a really useful thing, a lot of useful data right at your fingertips. So you get the frequency as well of the different values. Not always it's going to make sense, of course. In this case, it doesn't really make sense because we are looking at cost. But yeah, I mean, what you can look at is, for instance, the distribution. So the count, the table is, I mean, chart is as well here. So we can actually insert this chart into a separate sheet. So if I just click on this one, it's going to create a new sheet. It's going to give prompt you to create a new sheet, and you can actually insert this chart straight away. All right. And if I just jump into distribution, for instance, you'll see here it's somewhat different because you obviously have different cost values. So if I just come back to so if I just go to metrics conversions now and I look at column stats, it's going to give you all of the same options again. So very obviously it will have the same number of rows, right? Each column is going to have the same number of rows because the number of rows is going to remain the same for each column, but it's going to give you very different numbers. So obviously for conversions, you will have a much smaller sum. You have unique values. You get a very good quick snapshot, but you also can create, like I said, a good query out of it. So you want to find out the number of unique values. So suppose you want to find out the minimum value from this particular column. you can actually use this, and it's going to give you a nice little query here. All right, so that's pretty decent, right? That's a very handy way of generating some queries for yourself, and that's it, and that's pretty much what I wanted to show. It's a very handy way of looking at data from BigQuery, and the advantage of you obviously that you have here is that you have all the data at your fingertips. You don't have to create reports from scratch. So there are obviously some templates within Google Ads reporting section, but if you want to create a custom table, you actually have to go into Google Ads and you have to add each of the dimensions and metrics separately one by one, right? So that is something that you would really not want to do, every time, because that's going to be time consuming. So if you know which tables you're going to look at, so for instance, I know this is a very useful table. There's so many tables like I just showed, but campaign stats is one of the most important tables. I can tell you, if it's a PMAX campaign, of course, that's something that you're talking about, and this is going to contain all the important campaign level metrics that you would really be looking at if you're looking at it from from the major KPIs perspective, as well as the important intervening metrics. So CPM, CDR, and click-through rates, and CPCs, as well as the conversion related metrics like cost per conversion, conversions, conversion value. All this stuff is going to be here within this particular table. So you can actually use this table to generate so this table is ready made for you, for instance, and you don't have to add anything here. So if you want to add anything, you can actually create that table within BigQuery, and then you can just export it to Google Sheets if you don't want to use, or you don't have the knowledge of SQL. There's no problem. Google Sheets is there for you. So this is very fast, very efficient, and definitely going to save you a lot of time. It's also going to give you a very quick understanding of how the distribution looks like, how where exactly is the concentration of data for that particular column. So I would say that this is absolutely superb, and it should definitely be giving it a go. And yeah, that's it. Hope this was helpful, and definitely keep following my videos, like it, and do subscribe to my channel for upcoming content as well around marketing analytics. Thank you. Thanks for your time.